Yo, what up? Ogechi here, aka Oaghaji, back with another video. It's time for another review. Now, today's review is going to be on Volume 1, aka Chapters 1 through 9 of the 1994 Seinen martial arts manga classic Koukou Tekkenden Tafu, created by the awesome Tetsuya Saruwatari. Now, for those of y'all who might not know who Tetsuya Saruwatari is, he's well known for the Tough, as you know, for this series, Koukou Tekkenden Tafu, and its sequel Tough, and sequels that came afterwards, as well as being the co-creator of the Seinen post-apocalyptic dystopian martial arts action manga Rikyo. You know what I'm saying? And he's one of the co-creators by, drawing the characters, right? Anyway, I decided to, review chapters 1 through 9, which is like volume 1 of the manga, and give you a bit of a brief synopsis as best as possible, you know what I'm saying, and give you all my thoughts on it. So yeah, here goes, y'all. Now, the manga starts out with this kid named Ishige who has these martial arts books, you know what I'm saying? And then he bumps into this Kenpatsu kid, or blonde-haired kid, and he's known, and that kid is the real main character of the series, Kiichi Miyazawa, also known by his nickname, Kibo, which is pretty cool. Now, as some of y'all might know, that Koukou Tekkenden Tafu has a 3-episode OVA adaptation, also released in the United States as Street Fighter Tekken, you know what I'm saying, which is pretty cool. Anyway, back to the synopsis. He gets picked, Ichige, gets picked on by a bunch of bullies, after Kiichi, bust him off, you know what I'm saying? But before that happened, Kiichi, saw his books and he was very intrigued, especially the one by Bruce Lee, because, Kiichi Miyazawa is a big Bruce Lee fan, and he wants to become a great martial artist just like him. Anyways, after a little conversation, you know what I'm saying, Kiichi basically, said some harsh stuff towards Ishige. Ishige just basically ran off. And then he got bullied by a bunch of gang members. And then Kiichi, steps in and whoops their asses, basically. And he basically told Ishige that he hates weaklings, you know what I'm saying, and which Ishige takes very much to heart. And then later on, the men that Kiichi beat up will get beat up even worse by their leader, Shimikan, I think that's his name. I could be wrong, anyway. That's that guy who's a very big dude, by the way. Later on, he finds Kiichi, you know what I'm saying, and he decides to fight Kiichi, especially since he found him talking with his homie, Moriura, also known as Moria, which is his nickname. Kiichi and Shimikan, I think that's his name, again, correct me if I'm wrong, had their fight, and Kiichi, despite having some challenges, fighting the guy, he was able to beat him, despite some, some minor setbacks, because, he's a big dude. Later on, around the other first few chapters, Kiichi, fights some very strong opponents, including a Mitsuhide Kuroda, as you might know him from the OVA adaptation. And throughout these chapters, Kiichi tries to, be this great inheritor of the fictional martial art Nara Shinkageryu, which is an ancient, deadly assassination martial art, you know what I'm saying, that kills but also preserves life, which, it's kind of similar to Hokuto Shinken and Hokuto no Ken, aka Fist of the North Star, you know what I'm saying, and it also reminds me a little bit of Unsatsuken in Street Fighter, which is pretty cool. Yeah, throughout this, he faced some very, very skilled opponents, right? Throughout these first few chapters. And most of them were street brawls, but again, eventually he will face against Kuroda in the few chapters. And we also get to see his father, Seiko Miyazawa, who is the previous, successor to Nara Shinkageryu, which is pretty cool. Now, for those who might not know, Nara Shinkageryu, it's a fictional martial art inspired by the Koryu martial arts of Japan, which is like the ancient martial arts that were practiced in feudal Japan before the Meiji Restoration period. And it was also inspired by Chinese Kung Fu, aka Chinese martial arts, as well as modern day shoot fighting and MMA, which is pretty awesome. What I like the most about this manga is its characters, The story isn't perfect, but it's pretty cool, It is a typical martial arts story where you have the main character who wants to become this very skilled fighter, but it's done pretty well in my opinion, especially when it comes to characters like Keiji Miyazawa. You can tell that, he's a little bit cocky, a little bit brash, but at the same time, he is a very skilled fighter. He does have the skills to back his trash-talking up, and the art is just fantastic. I mean, the fights are just very awesome, It's basically a much more grounded grappler Baki, as some might, think, the fights are just, like I said, they're just very awesome, drawn very well. Y'all can tell that Tetsuya Saruwatari, definitely knows his thing when it comes to martial arts, and a great martial arts fanatic. In fact, you'll get to see him interview a couple of fighters and whatnot in the ends of the volumes of the manga as it progresses, which is pretty cool. From volume 1 to like the final volume, which is cool. I don't know what more I can say because again, I don't want to spoil it for y'all. I want y'all to read this for yourselves, but Koukou Tekkenden Tough is a pretty fun, read, especially in its first volumes. The first 9 chapters are just, awesome and some great 90s martial arts manga goodness, which I like. As y'all know, that Koukou Tekkenden Tough ran from 1994 to 2003, and then a sequel will be created afterwards, which is cool. And then it's other sequels and spin-offs as well. So I definitely recommend y'all giving Volume 1 of Koukou Tekkenden Tough a read, which is, again, chapters 1 through 9, and you won't be disappointed, especially if you're looking for an alternative to, like, Grappler Baki and Kengan Ashura and History's Strongest Disciple Kenichi and Hokuto no Ken, aka Fist of the North Star, and Sakigake Otoko Juku. So, give this manga a shot, with its first volume. So, it gets a 4.5 out of 5. Now, hopefully y'all enjoy this review. I wish, this review could have been a little bit better in terms of its details, but it's been a long day, and I just got done playing basketball and whatnot at Frisbee Park, so let me know what y'all think about Volume 1 of Koukou Tekkenden Tough in the comments below. If y'all like this video, y'all can like it, share it, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell to keep y'all notified on the uploads, and y'all can also follow me on my other social media accounts, and stay tuned for more other reviews and more of the videos along the way. So all that said, this is your boy, Ogechi Aghaji, aka Oaghaji, signing out. Peace.